Hello, 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 good people. All right. Welcome to Him 2 University, Tuesday edition. My name is Angela, and we're about to get started this morning. I'm excited. We're in Psalm 61. It's short and sweet, but power packed this morning. And so, again, we're going to be in Psalm 61. I'm going to be talking about this morning, remain under God's umbrella. There is safety, shelter, and provision under it. Remain under God's umbrella. There is safety, shelter, and protection under God's umbrella. So I'm excited this morning. Psalm 61 is another Psalm of David. And so we get to hear David express himself in Psalm 61. And it's going to be good this morning. Again, if you're just joining, you should see the statement that Aaron has that says get on StreamYard.com and just accept their policies if you want to put comments and for us to be able to see your name as we go live. Again, we're in Psalm 61. I'm going to be talking about this morning, remain under God's umbrella. There is safety, shelter, and provision under it. Hey, Tiff, what's up? Good morning. All right, so let's go. Verses 1 and 2, short and sweet this morning, but it's going to be good. Verses 1 and 2, again, this is a Psalm of David. Oh God, listen to my cry, hear my prayer. From the ends of the earth, I cry to you for help when my heart is overwhelmed. Again, Psalm 61, I'm going to read verse 1 and 2 again. This is David crying out to God. He says, oh God, listen to my cry, hear my prayer. From the ends of the earth, I cry to you for help. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the towering rock of safety. I love this. And so David is in a place where most of us have been. If you've lived short of 5 years, then you have been in a place where you have been overwhelmed. You have been in a place where you have felt like there's no way I can handle all of this. God, I need your help. One of the things when I was reading Psalm 61 that God began to show me is he said, when we give our life to him, he puts an umbrella over us, which is considered to be his shield around us. And God began to show me, he says, when you are overwhelmed, as long as you stay under that umbrella, which is me covering you, you're going to be fine. A lot of times we start feeling overwhelmed or like we just can't handle it. We just can't do it when we step outside of God's umbrella and start trying to do it in our own hands, in our own strength without relying on the Father. One of the things I love about David, and we see this in Psalm 61, verses 1 through 4. Hey, good morning, Elder Horn. One of the things I love in Psalm 61 verses 1 through 2 is that David starts off by telling God that he is overwhelmed. But he then says in latter part of verse 2, he says, lead me, God, to the towering rock of safety. Why would David say that? Because anytime you are in a place of feeling overwhelmed, the only person that can help you if you are a believer is God. Man can't lift the stress. Man can't come in and rescue the overwhelming. The only person that can lift the pressure when you feel overwhelmed is God. And normally we tend not to go to him. We start going to people. We start going to things. We start going to other items. But one of the things I love that David teaches us in Psalm 61 is that when he felt overwhelmed, when he felt like, God, I can't handle this, because you can't, you need him. He went to God. And then he says, God, lead me to the towering rock of safety. Why would David use those words? The Bible, when you look from Genesis to Revelation, God is called the rock 33 times in the scripture. 33 times God is called the rock. In Isaiah 17 and 10, he's called the rock of our stronghold. In Psalms 31 and 3, he's called our rock and our fortress. In Deuteronomy 32 and 15, he's called the rock of our salvation. Why does David use the word rock so much? And I'll tell you why. Because rock is, yes, Elder Horn, that's it. One, Rock is considered to be a stable place. If you go in the desert and you see a boulder, you're not going to pick a boulder up and just throw it. It's a big rock. It typically cannot be moved. When David refers to God as rock, he's referring to God as a stable place. He's referring to God as something that is solid. He's referring to God. So when we feel overwhelmed, a lot of times what happens is our emotions are going every which way, and now we feel overwhelmed, like we can't handle it. Our emotions are not a rock, but we can turn around and call God. David could call God a rock because God is solid. He's unmovable. Scripture says he's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. The Bible also says, I believe in Hebrews, talks about that he never changes. And so we can call God a rock because in our time of feeling overwhelmed, in our time of feeling stressed, frustrated, sad, happy, mad, wherever you are and feeling overwhelmed, we can call God our rock because he is safe. David he not only calls him a rock, he says, lead me to the towering rock. He says, lead me to the rock that is in a high place. Why? Because God is higher than our emotions. God is higher than the earth. So when I'm feeling earthly stress, when I'm feeling overwhelmed in the earth, when life has through some stuff that I'm kind of like, God, this is a lot. What I want is for God to lead me in the place of safety, which is in him, which is a safe place, which is high above everything I'm dealing with on the earth. I understand David, because if you were to look at this in military terms, then what David is saying is, God, lead me to the tower where you are. Why? Because in the military, in the Bible days, when they were in a fight, what they would do is they would get into these towers. Sometimes they would get into a fortress that was built in the ground like a garrison, but sometimes they would get in these towers, and they would get in these towers and they would see the enemy from far off, and the enemy could not attack them. Why? Because they were high up in this tower. And so what I believe David is referring to is, God, take me up higher to where you are, Father, so my enemies can't attack me. So this overwhelming feeling, Father, you can lift it, because if I'm up in a higher place with you, then everything beneath me doesn't matter, because where I am is high above my problems, high above my stress, high above my frustration, high above my sadness. Not that it's all gonna go away, but God, take me into a place where I'm surrounded around you and everything else seems small. If God is magnified, then something else has to become small. So if my emotions are magnified, then they become big. But when I begin to magnify God, and I begin to tell God what I'm dealing with, and I begin to tell God my frustration, and I begin to tell God my overwhelmness, and I begin to run to him under his umbrella, there is safety, there is shelter, and there is provision. And so what we find with David in Psalm 61 verses 1 through 2 is that David has found himself feeling overwhelmed. Scripture doesn't tell us why David feels overwhelmed, but it gives us some principles from David. When David felt overwhelmed, he ran unto God under God's umbrella, and he says, God, now take me up to the towering rock of safety. Why? Because when we are under him, then he provides shelter. When we are under him, then he provides safety. I want you to think about this in terms of an umbrella. When you are under that umbrella, most of the time you're not getting wet the way you would if the umbrella is gone. But when you don't have no umbrella, when the rain comes down, your hair gets messed up, ladies, your makeup, your lip gloss gets messed up, your clothes, fellas, gets messed up. But when you have that umbrella, a lot of times the umbrella will shield you from the rain. And so what David is saying is, God, take me up to the tower where you begin to shield me, where you begin to be my safe place. And so this morning, I want to encourage you is that you have to remain under the umbrella. I know there are many things trying to lure you in this season. I know there's stress, there's frustration. For some people, it's tax time. For some people, it's the new year. For some of you, you failed at your 21-day fast. For some of you, you ain't been going to the gym like you said you were. And there are many things trying to lure you away from God's umbrella. There are many things trying to attach to your emotions and lead you away from the umbrella of God. But my encouragement to you this morning is no matter what is trying to lure you by way of emotions, by way of failure, by way of whatever, stay under the umbrella of God. David says there is safety in you as the towering rock. What am I telling you this morning? There is safety if you stay under God's umbrella. There is provision if you need it, if you stay under the protection of God. There is protection from your enemies, from things around you externally when you stay under the umbrella of God. There are going to be many things in this season of your life that are going to try to lure you away from God, that are going to try to put your attention on everything external. But what I want to encourage you this morning with Psalm 61 is get you a fixed focus. Put your focus in on God. And when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel stressed, when you feel like there's a lot going on, find yourself under his umbrella. Find yourself like David in Psalm 61, giving him the overwhelmness because he can handle it. Man can't handle a lot of times every single thing you're going through, but we serve a Father who can handle it. That's why he tells us in the New Testament, cast your anxieties upon me, for I care it for you. Cast them upon me. And you can find that in Philippians. Cast your anxieties on me. Why? Because I care for you. God can handle the stresses that we deal with in the world. And so David gives us an example in Psalm 61 verse 2. He says, from the ends of the earth, I cry to you for help, God. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the towering rock of safety. And so this morning, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're already stressed and it's January, you find yourself in a stressful place, you find yourself in feeling overwhelmed, I'm telling you this morning that you're in a good place. Because when you feel overwhelmed, what you're saying is, I can't handle it. And I'm telling you, that's a good place, because where you can't handle, he can handle it. Where you're in a place of like, I just can't do this. This is a lot. I just can't handle all of this. I'm telling you, you're in a good place because God can handle it. Man may not can handle it. Your husband, wife may not can handle it. Your best friend may not can handle it. Your cousin may not can handle it. Your boss may not can handle it. But I'll tell you this morning that God can handle it. Why else would David say, I'm feeling overwhelmed, but God, lead me to the towering rock of safety? David was saying, I acknowledge my emotions, God. I acknowledge that I'm feeling very stressed right now. I acknowledge that I'm feeling like, God, this is a lot. This is a lot I'm having to face. This is a lot I'm having to walk out. This is a lot I'm having to deal with. But one thing I know is that, God, if I get to you, you can lead me to the tower of safety, which is you. So what is my encouragement this morning, just off verse 1 and 2, is no matter where you are, no matter what you're dealing with, stay under God's umbrella. There are going to be many external things that are going to try to lure you away. There are going to be many external things that are going to try to pull you away from putting your attention on God, from casting your anxieties. And what I'm telling you this morning is fight not to be distracted. Sometimes you got to have a fixed focus on God. And I'm not telling you this to tell you to be super, super deep. What I'm telling you this morning is sometimes you got to have blinders on, where it's like there are many things trying to get my attention. There are many things trying to pull me away from my place of peace. There are many things trying to pull me away from my safe place. There are many things trying to pull me, but I've got to put my attention on God so that I stay under his umbrella and I'm not lured to a place of dysfunction. I'm not lured to a place of frustration. I'm not lured to a place of anger. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fix my focus on you. And God, I'm going to cast my anxieties upon you. I'm going to cast my frustration upon you. I'm going to cast the weightiness that I feel upon you. I know there are many people right now that are just weighty with everything that is going on in the world. And during this time, we got to find ourselves under the umbrella of God. God, this is how I feel. God, this is what I'm dealing with. Father, I don't understand this, but I'm giving it to you. I'm casting my anxiety upon you. I'm casting my frustration. I'm casting my stress. Anything that would try to overwhelm me, Father, I'm giving it to you. Why? Because you can handle it. Scripture says he's the lifter of our head. So when we feel weighed down, all we got to do is go to him, and he's the one that can take it on. So I'm encouraging you this morning is no matter where you are, fix your focus. Maybe there's some things that have come in that have tried to get your focus on other things. My encouragement this morning is fix your focus. Stop being easily distracted. And when you feel overwhelmed, give that overwhelming to God and let him be your rock. Let him be the very thing that is solid in your life. Let him lead you to a higher place. See, when you're in a higher place, you see things differently. When you're down here on ground level, you see everything the way everyone else sees it. And it can be overwhelming. But when God leads you to that towering rock of safety, when you look out, you begin to see things differently. See, I can be super emotional and stressed out on the ground level. But when God begins to take me higher, my viewpoint is different. I don't know if you've ever flown in an airplane, but when you're at the airport, you see everything. It seems so chaotic. You look around and it's like planes everywhere. People are directed. The airport is crazy. But when you get up in that plane and you begin to look down, things just look a little different. Why? Because things start looking a little smaller than they did when you was on the ground level. So what am I saying is when you're on the ground level, everything seems big. When you're on the ground level, everything is overwhelming. When you're on the ground level, yes, frustration is overtaking you in every which way. But when you allow God to take you a little higher, like David said, to the towering rock of safety, and you look down, what used to be big, all of a sudden seems small. If you've been in any airplane, when you look down, you're like, man, them buildings sure look tiny. When you was down there on the ground, though, them buildings were skyscrapers. They were huge. But the higher you get, some 60,000 feet in the air, everything looks small. What am I telling you? It may seem big right now because you're on the ground level and you're looking at it like this, but let God take you a little bit higher. And as God begins to elevate your perspective, when you look down, things gonna seem just a little bit smaller than what they seem when you was on the ground level. And David gives that encouragement when he says, lead me to the towering rock of safety. My encouragement to you this morning is let God be your rock. Let him be the solid place. Let him take you just a little bit higher, because as God takes you higher, everything else becomes small underneath. I know it seems big right now. It seems big because you're looking at everything. The friend left, the husband acting up, the wife acting up, the kids acting up, the job acting up, the money kind of funny, and my body kind of acting up. And it seems so big. Whew. But when you find yourself in his presence and you find yourself in worship and you begin to cast your, I live this, and you begin to cast your anxieties upon him, and God begins to just take you above everything that's going on, and he wraps you in his presence. Everything else becomes small. Why? Because he's great. And as he is magnified, everything else has to be small. If you've ever had a magnifying glass and you put it over an ant, that ant seems so big. And everything else around the ant that's around the magnifying glass seems small. Why? Because what we magnify is what's going to be great. Everything else would be small. So if we magnify the Father, then everything else is going to be small. What God is saying is, I know you got a lot going on. I know you stressed. I know you emotional. I know it don't feel fair. I know you like, God, when is it going to change, Father? I know you feel like that. But all I want you to do is to press into my presence. All I want you to do is to depend upon me as your rock. All I want you to do is to give it to me. I can handle it. You can't handle it, but I can handle it. What I want you to do is to give it to me. Because if you give it to me, see, my back is stronger. I carried the cross. If you give it to me, I got it. But if you try to carry it all, you're gonna feel overwhelmed, David. You're gonna feel stressed out. But what God is saying is, what I want you to do is give it to me. Give me the frustration. Give me the job. Give me the money issues. I know tax time is coming and you're already planning your taxes, and you like, I don't even have enough, even with tax. God, like, what I want you to do is give it to me. I'm Jehovah Jireh. I'm your provider. What I want you to do is cast it upon me. Give me your overwhelmness. Give me your frustration. And as you begin to do that, then everything else becomes smaller around you. Why? Because you're under the umbrella of who I am. If you stay under that and you don't let things and people pull you away, then what God is saying is, I'm your rock, I'm your solid place. Everything else may be like sand. Woo, I'm reminded of Matthew. Everything else may be like sand. But if you build your house on the rock, whoo, if you build your house on the rock, then when the storm comes, your house ain't gonna move, baby. When the wind blows, your house ain't gonna move. If you build it on the rock. But if you build your house on the sand, he says in Matthew, I believe it's around chapter 16. But if you build it on the sand, then when the storm comes, your house gonna move around. But may we be found building our house on the rock. Who is the rock? Jesus is the rock. Build your house on him. Don't build it on everything else. Don't build it on friends, a job. All that stuff can move around. But build your house, your foundation, your everything on him. So when you find yourself in a place of feeling overwhelmed, or maybe you're overwhelmed just with your own failures. Maybe it's January 28th and you're like, Dad, I have not stuck with this eating right. And you're starting to feel overwhelmed because you have anxiety about the way last year went. And so you're already feeling anxious about this year. No, just get before the Father. Get up under that umbrella. Cast your anxieties upon him, for he careth for you. Let's keep going. Verses 3 and 4. David says, let me live forever. Well, actually, he starts back up. He says, lead me to the towering rock of safety, for you are my safe refuge. You're a fortress where my enemies cannot reach me. Let me live forever in your sanctuary, safe beneath the shelter of your wings. What is David saying? He like, look, God, if you lead me to the towering rock of safety, you are my safe refuge. What is David saying? He's like, God, if you just lead me in your presence into that place that's a little higher than what I'm going through, God, I find safety in you. Why? Because as long as I'm under your umbrella, there is safety in you. I ain't got to worry about what everybody else doing. I ain't got to worry about what's going on all around me. Yeah, it may be a little discouraging what I see in the world, but I got to put my trust in you and my hope in you. If I do that, then God, you are my safe place. You are my safe refuge. Then David says, you are a fortress to me, God, a protection where my enemies cannot get me. Let me live forever in your sanctuary, safe beneath the shelter of your wings. What is David saying? David is saying, God, look, I feel overwhelmed in verse 2. I'm giving that to you because you're my rock. Then he turns around and says, not only are you my rock, God, you're my safe place. God, you're my refuge from the protection of my enemies. He then goes on to say, let me live forever in your sanctuary. Why? Not that David was saying, let me live in the physical tabernacle. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, let me live forever in your presence. Why? Because there's safety in worship. I am a fan of when stuff is going crazy, find yourself in worship. Find yourself getting before the Father. Why? There is safety in worship. There is no way you can get in the glory of God. There is no way you can get in God's presence and remain frustrated. There is no way you can get in the glory of the Father and remain angry. There is no way you can get in the glory of God and remain in unforgiveness. There is no way you can get in the glory of who he is and remain overwhelmed. If you get in his presence, then everything that's not like him has to flee. Because his very glory, the essence of who he is, changes everything else. You have to change, and everything else has to change when you're in his presence. He don't change because he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. His glory doesn't change. You have to change, and circumstances have to change, and everything else has to change when you find yourself in his presence. So I am a fan when you got frustration and you got all this stuff going on, find yourself in worship. I know it's going to be hard. You're going to have to calm your feelings down, but find yourself worshiping the Father. Why? Because when you find yourself in his presence, everything else has to change. He's not going to change, but you'll change. He not finna change. He's the same. But it's something about the glory of the Lord that when you find yourself in his presence, I don't know about you. When I feel myself frustrated and I find myself overwhelmed, I find myself sneaking to a place where I can get in his presence. I find myself sneaking to my car. I find myself sneaking to the bathroom, and I find myself inviting the Father in. God, I just need you. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. But I know if you show up, everything else got to change. And so I'm in the bathroom inviting his glory in. I'm in the bathroom saying, God, this is what I feel, but I need you. If you show up, everything around me has to change. This mind is going every which way. But God, if you show up, the Prince of Peace got to show up, which means my mind has to calm down. See, I don't know about I'm not accustomed to running to everybody. I'm accustomed to where now I got to run in his presence. I need you. So when I find myself overwhelmed, or I find myself feeling frustrated, or I find myself with a lack of peace, then I got to get before the God who is peace. And then peace has to show up. Why? Because it's who he is. So when I'm in his presence, every part of him has to show up where I am. And so, God, I need your peace. And so when I find myself in worship, I find myself getting peace. I can't run to everybody else. Why? Because you're not my peace. He is. When I'm stressed, you're not my peace. You're not Jehovah Shalom. You're not my peace. When I find myself frustrated and I need love, 1 John 4 says he's the God of love. He is love. So when I find myself feeling like I'm lacking love, I got to get before the God who is love. I can't get before you. Why? Because I need him. When I'm feeling empty inside and I'm feeling alone, I got to get before the God who is 1 John 4, who is love. The Bible says that he is love. The very origin of love came from God. And when I feel empty and I feel alone and I feel like I don't have enough love in my life, I got to get before the God who is love. So I understand what David is saying. Let me live in your sanctuary forever. Let me live in a place of worship, God. Let me live in a place where you are. Why? Because without you, I can't do anything. Without you, I don't want to do anything. Without you, I don't want to be out here just doing everything. I need your presence. And maybe that's not your testimony this morning. That's my testimony. I've had many people fail me, but the one consistent thing in my life has been God. It's why I love him the way I do. He's been the only thing that has been consistent. When man, friends, jobs, I've gotten let go because the company is downsizing. But God, he never lets me go. He never forsakes me. So maybe that's not your testimony, but it is my testimony. And I get David this morning. Let me live in your presence forever. Let me live in the sanctuary. Let me live in the place where you are, God, because where you are, there is safety. Where you are, there is peace. Where you are, there is provision. What I need is found in your presence. And maybe you need some physical things to manifest. That I'm encouraging you this morning is find yourself in his presence. Find yourself in worship. Find yourself exalting the Father. Find yourself casting your anxieties upon him. Find yourself in a place that you need him. I don't know about everybody else. I don't have that testimony where the friend stuck out since I was 2 and now I'm 37 and that same friend been there. No, I don't have that testimony. I got a testimony that since I was 0 until 37, the only person has an entity that has been consistent in my life has been God. And so when I'm going through, when I'm not going through, I find myself in his presence. I find myself exalting him. I find myself letting him know what's going on. He's my best friend. I find myself telling him, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm going through. I need your help. I can't make it. I can't do this. I need you. Lift it up, God. Lift up the burden. Lift up the stress. I need you, Father. You are my peace. You are my strength. You are the calmness in my mind. So I understand David when David says, let me live in your sanctuary forever under the shelter of your wings. Oh, I get that. I got that same prayer. Let me stay in your presence forever. Let me stay under the shelter of your wings, God. Why? Because if I stay there, everything else is going to be okay. Externally, it may not change like this, but if I stay under him, Sooner or later, y'all know the song, it's gonna line up. I just gotta stay under him. I know you want all my attention. I know you want me to call, text, DM you, social media you want me to do all this thing, but I gotta find myself spending some time with him. I know you want me to text you 500, 600, 700 times a day, but where I am is I need him. I gotta find myself in his presence. I know you want us to be on the phone for 3 hours, but what I'm dealing with is I need him. And so you don't have the answer for me. So I got to find myself in his presence. Let me live in your presence forever. I understand David. Oh, I understand him. Because sometimes, most of the time, people don't have the answers. God has blessed us with some amazing people, and they have wisdom and they can comfort us, but they can only comfort us so far. Sometimes the comfort that you need is in the arms of the Father. So sometimes I don't know about everyone else. Sometimes I just find myself in his presence and I'm weeping, and I'm not weeping just emotion. I'm weeping because God, I need you. I need you. I acknowledge the frailty of my humanness. I acknowledge that I am weak without you. I acknowledge that you are my strength. You are my Jehovah Teshur. It is one of my favorite names of God. You are my strength. That when I'm weak, I can declare I'm strong only because of who you are to me. All right, let's keep going. I'm almost out. 5 and 6, 5, 6, 7, and 8, actually. For you have heard my vows, O God. You have given me the inheritance reserved for those who fear your name. Add many years to the life of the king. David is talking about himself in third person now. Add many years to the life of the king. May his years span through the generations. May he reign under God's protection forever. And may your unfailing love and faithfulness watch over him. Then I will sing praises to your name forever. And so as we get into 5, 6, 7, and 8, David is now, he's now talking about himself in third person. He's talking about the things that he's believing God, like God, add many years to the life of the king. May his years span through generations. He then talks about God, may you be his protection forever. And may your unfailing love and faithfulness watch over him. One of the things that God shared with me as I'm ending this, as he said, Angela, if you would stay under me, under my umbrella, then he says, my unfailing love and my faithfulness will always be there. My protection will always be there. As long as you stay under my umbrella. Many times there are things that are trying to lure us away. There are people that are trying to distract us. There are things that the enemy sends that are trying to get us up and under that umbrella. Why? Because if I can get you away from God, if I could get you so distracted with everything else you got going on and you have little to no time for him, if I could get you over here and all you're doing is hanging out, you too tired to pray. You too tired to read your word. You too tired to spend time in his presence. If I can get you frustrated with the kids, then you so tired, you just want to get in a bathtub and you just want to go to bed. You ain't got no time to pray. Why? Because you're frustrated with everything else. If I can get you all over here, if I could get you all over here, away from this, then I can distract you. And then I'll have you over here like a Tasmanian devil and everything else. And you forgot that you're not under God's umbrella anymore. Yes, it is befitting for this rainy day. You'll forget that you're no longer under God's umbrella. You're way over here doing your own thing. Now you're going to feel overwhelmed. Why? Because you're not over here what God told you to be. So my encouragement to you this morning is stay under God's umbrella. I know it may be hard. I know your testimony may be like mine. Every day ain't been peaches and cream for you since January 1st. Your testimony may be like mine. It ain't been cake and ice cream since January 1st. I know somebody entered 2020 and they got $1 million and life just turned around. That's not my testimony. 2020 ain't just been super easy for me. But one of the things that I've seen is that my fight is to fight the distractions and stay under his umbrella. There have been many things since I've entered 2020 that have tried to distract me, that have tried to pull me away and get my attention on all this stuff. But like David, I've had to fix my focus in on God. Help me stay under this. Help me not to be distracted by everything and everyone else. I've had to fight to stay. God, help me. I need you in his presence. I've had to fight. All right, Keisha, I get it. I've had to fight to stay in this place of staying focused. And it's a fight. It's not that I wake up and it's just easy to stay focused. No, I have to fight distractions. I have to cast down thoughts because this mind, sometimes it be trying to go, and I have to cast down thoughts. And I have to ask God to help me to have the mind of Christ. I have to ask God to help me remain in his peace. And it's a fight, but it's a fight that I'm willing to fight because I'm going to stay under this umbrella. Come hell, high water, no matter what, I'm staying under this because I know what it's like to get up and under the umbrella. I know what it's like to get over there and be over there doing all this stuff, and you ain't got time for God, and you got time for everybody else, and then you over here apologizing to him. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to pray more. I'm gonna try to spend more time with you. But you know they need me, and God like, but I created you. I want to spend time with you. And so my encouragement is when I look at Psalm 61. The essence of what I feel like David is saying is he starts off talking about his overwhelmness. He starts off talking about like, man, I'm overwhelmed. I got a lot going on. But I love that as we transition through the scriptures, David paints a picture that we should stay under the umbrella of God. There's safety, there's shelter, there's provision when you stay under God's umbrella. And maybe you need strength. And I'll tell you that there's strength under his umbrella as well. What you need is to stay under this and to fight to stay under it. When feelings go crazy, when people trying to tell you all that drama and all that, you like, hey, baby, I'm going to pray for you, but I got to stay under this umbrella. I can't be dragged over here and all this. I got to stay right here. And I'm not telling you to not be there for people, but what I'm telling you is sometimes you got to protect your peace. And many distractions come to try to get you out of that place of peace. And I don't know, the older I get, and I'm not that old, but the older I get, it's just something about peace. When I was younger, I probably gave it up easy. But the older I get, the more I'm protective of my peace. It's like, nah, I need peace of mind and peace in my heart. I don't want to be in all that drama and all that gossip and all. I'm trying to protect my peace. And when I come in my house, when I get off work, I love that it's peaceful. I need to protect my peace. My house is my sanctuary. I need the peace of God in my house. And so the older I get, the more I'm like, nah, I need to protect my peace. I don't need all that chaos. And so may we be found like David, standing under the umbrella, kneeling under the umbrella, praying under the umbrella of God. May we not get out of that umbrella. And though there will be many distractions, I'm not telling you they're not going to be there, but may you fight to stay right here. May you fight your emotions. May you fight. May you, when you find yourself all crazy, may you cast those anxieties before God. May you lay those things before God. May you fight to leave them right at his feet. Don't pick them back up. Because I've been guilty of that, where I cast them and I get up from prayer and then I just pick it back up and I walk away with it. No, leave it right there at his feet. Fight to leave it right there. Don't pick it back up. And I'm telling you that I'm not giving you no super easy something. What I'm telling you is God is with you. And I'm telling you that when it's overwhelming for you, he got it. He can bear it. He got it. I'm not telling you he just finna snap his fingers and it's all finna be over. But I'm telling you that the Father is with you. And all he's asking is for you to stay under his umbrella. Stay under that umbrella. Don't start doing all this stuff in your own strength, because then you start being responsible for that in which you create. Stay under that umbrella. And I'm telling you, God's got you. I don't know what your year looking like. I don't know what you're going through. But I'm telling you, no matter where you are, no matter what you're dealing with, find yourself under God's umbrella. And throughout the day, find yourself spending time with the Father. I don't care if it's 5 minutes on your lunch. I don't care if you got to take a 10-minute break and go get, y'all, the restroom is my worship place. I don't care if you got to go to the car for 5 minutes and invite him in. Find yourself stealing away and spending time with the Father, and watch how it impacts your day. I know I practice this. I'm over student housing. Sometimes it's a lot. This weekend I had to work. It's a lot. And in between that day, I had to steal away. They was missing me for about 5 minutes. I had to go to the restroom and say, Father, I thank you that you are my peace. Father, speak through me. Don't let me be frustrated. I had to steal away. Why? Because I want my light to shine. I don't want people to see frustration and all of that. I want them to see the light of Christ. It is a reflection of him. And I had to steal away and say, God, I'm moving all these students in, but I need you to be my peace. All this stuff is going KY. Toilets not working, showers not working in apartments. I'm like, God, I need you. And I had to steal away. And I felt his peace. Then I went back and I was like, welcome to student housing. How can I help you? I'm Angela. I'm the director. Boom, 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 boom. Why? Because I felt better. I was good. I spent some time with the Father, and he gave me that peace, and I was good. So I'm telling you, what I'm teaching, I practice. I walk out. All right, let's pray. Father, thank you. You are amazing, God. You are wonderful. You are great. Father, we thank you that there's nobody like you, God. I thank you today for being our protection. I thank you for being our shelter. I thank you for being our provision, God. I thank you for being our strength, Father. The very things that we have need of, you are. And so, Father, I pray for everyone that's watching this. May we find time to spend in your presence. God, may we be like David, God. Let us live in your presence forever. Let us live in that sanctuary, that place where you dwell, Father. I thank you that no matter what we got going on externally, God, may we always find ourselves in a place of worship. May we always find ourselves magnifying you above everything else. I know it may be some crazy things going on, but God, may we find ourselves in a place where we magnify you above everything else, and everything else becomes small compared to you. Father, I just declare how great you are today. I declare how wonderful you are. I declare how awesome you are. Father, I invite you into our day today. Father, may you lead and guide us down the path of righteousness. God, may your peace govern us today. May your strength govern us today. May you be the lifter of somebody's head today. And Father, I just thank you, and I give you glory, honor, and praise. I pray for my brother Marcus and Brenton and Aaron, God. May you be with us, Father, as we share your word each week, Father. May you speak through us, God. May you give us your wisdom and your fresh revelation, God. May you lead and guide us, Father, throughout your word, God. Fresh revelation, fresh understanding, fresh wisdom. And Father, I just thank you for that and just give you all the glory, the honor, and the praise in Jesus' name. You guys have an amazing day. Don't forget, Marcus will be on at 7:15 in the morning, and my brother Brenton, will be on Thursday around 8 o'clock. Peace.